Today's heart-touching story is about Gabriel Hayes, one of the most powerful men in Crestville, whose life changes in the most unexpected way. While enjoying a quiet afternoon at Maplewood Square, a terrified little girl named Zoey runs up to his table and shouts the words that end up saving his life, "Don't eat that." What Gabriel doesn't know is that Zoey has been surviving alone on the streets after her mom, Grace, suddenly disappeared. What she sees behind the restaurant pushes her to risk everything, even her own safety, to warn and save a stranger. That afternoon at Maplewood Square, the sun was shining high over Crestville, the kind of sunlight that made the polished tables of the upscale outdoor cafes shimmer. Cars drove softly along the cobblestone streets, and the air carried the rich scent of fresh soups, bread and herbs from the nearby kitchens. Waiters glided gracefully between tables in crisp white shirts, carrying trays filled with perfectly plated dishes. At one of those tables sat Gabriel Hayes, a man whose name echoed in boardrooms across the globe. A billionaire known for his sharp mind, relentless drive, and belief that nothing in the world could ever surprise him. But as it often happens, life has a way of humbling even the most untouchable. And Gabriel was about to find that out. Through the bustling crowd, a small figure darted into view, a little girl with dirt on her cheeks, tangled hair, and clothes patched together like someone had sewn them from scraps. She was barefoot, and her small frame shook from exhaustion. Her eyes, wide and desperate, locked onto Gabriel's table. She raised a trembling hand toward his gourmet soup, shouting with everything her tiny body could muster. "Don't eat that." For a moment, the world seemed to freeze. Diners paused mid-bite, forks suspended in the air, shocked that a child in tattered clothing had appeared in their pristine dining space. Gabriel frowned, a mix of irritation and confusion crossing his face. Was she begging for food? Was this some kind of trick? But something about her eyes made him hesitate. Raw fear, urgent and pleading. This wasn't a child asking for scraps. She was trying to warn him. Her name was Zoey, though she hadn't said it yet. For 3 weeks, she had been surviving on the streets of Crestville by doing things no child should ever have to do, digging through trash, dodging angry street vendors, and hiding from dangerous men who prowled the alleys at night. Her mother, Grace, had vanished 2 nights ago, leaving Zoey alone with a small cloth bag of stale breadcrumbs, hoping against hope she might find help before it was too late. Just moments before running toward Gabriel, Zoey had been scavenging behind the restaurant, searching desperately for anything useful. That's when she had seen a man slip out from the kitchen's back door, glancing around nervously. He had pulled something from his pocket and emptied it into the bowl meant for Gabriel before disappearing into the street. Zoey didn't know the man's full intentions. She didn't know who Gabriel was. But she knew danger when she saw it. She ran as fast as her tired legs could carry her, shouting out the only words that mattered. Gabriel's first instinct was doubt. Could this be a trick? A child trying to steal his food? Diners murmured disapproval, and a security guard started moving toward her. But then Gabriel noticed something crucial: Zoey wasn't reaching for the soup. She was pulling him away from it. The fear in her eyes left no doubt. His hesitation saved him. Moments later, the head waiter approached the table, lifting the soup with a confident smile. But almost instantly, his expression changed. His hands trembled. His eyes widened. He whispered something to another server, who rushed inside. The kitchen staff came running, pale and panicked. The dish was immediately whisked away. Gabriel's heartbeat thundered in his ears. A quick investigation revealed that the soup had been contaminated, potentially lethal if consumed. The alleged threat from a rival wasn't just corporate anymore, it was real, cold, and hiding in plain sight. And it was a barefoot little girl who had saved him from disaster. Gabriel looked back at Zoey. He really looked at her this time. The bruises, the hunger, the exhaustion, her tiny body had faced more in a few weeks than most adults could imagine in a lifetime. Yet she had risked herself to warn a stranger. Someone from a world completely separate from hers. "Why, how did you know?" he asked gently. Her words came in a trembling whisper. She spoke of the alley, of the suspicious delivery man, of the vile powder. She told him about Grace disappearing, about sleeping on cold concrete, about being turned away wherever she went. She didn't cry, though her voice cracked with the weight of everything she had endured. Gabriel felt a lump rise in his throat. For all his money, power, and influence, he had never felt so small, and yet, so connected to humanity. He realized he had built empires but forgotten what it meant to truly care. The police were called. The kitchen staff identified the intruder, a recently fired delivery man with a history of reckless and violent behavior. Zoey hadn't just saved Gabriel, she had prevented a disaster that could have harmed countless others. Officers spoke gently to her, asking where she lived. Her answer was quiet, almost inaudible: she had nowhere. Grace hadn't returned. For a moment, the bustling street of Maplewood Square seemed to hold its breath. Diners who had scowled moments before now whispered in awe. Gabriel stood, slowly removed his coat, and wrapped it around Zoey's thin shoulders. It hung on her like a protective shield, and for the first time in days, she felt warmth. He led her to a small, cozy cafe across the street. There, she ate warm food for the first time in weeks. More importantly, someone listened. Gabriel listened to every detail, every scrap of information she could remember about her mother, the alleys, and the man who had tried to harm him. And then, with the authority of a man who could move mountains, he promised something simple, but life-changing: she would not face this alone anymore. Detectives began searching immediately. As the sun dipped behind the city skyline that evening, they found Grace alive, trapped inside a collapsed storage room where she had fallen 2 nights earlier. She had banged on the metal door, but no one heard her. Hope had faded, but not love. Zoey ran into her mother's arms, crying freely for the first time in days. Grace held her tightly, promising silently that she would never let go again. Gabriel watched a few steps away, deeply moved. In the span of an ordinary afternoon, a billionaire learned a lesson he would never forget: sometimes the smallest voices carry the greatest courage. And a little girl, who had lost nearly everything, found safety, warmth, and her mother again, all because she dared to shout 3 words that changed everything. Don't eat that. Stories like this remind us that courage isn't about size or wealth, it's about heart. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs a reminder of hope. Tell us in the comments what you would have done if you were in Gabriel's place. And remember, even the smallest act of bravery can change the world. As the evening settled over Crestville, the sirens quieted, relief washed through the streets, and 2 lives, so different, yet now forever connected, had been saved by courage, hope, and kindness. And so, under the fading sunlight, Gabriel Hayes learned that no matter how powerful you are, sometimes the bravest heroes are the ones you least expect: a little girl named Zoey, with nothing but her courage and heart. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps bring real, emotional stories like Zoey's to life.